My name is Skip Sims, Senior Vice President of Ann Arbor Spark. I also am the managing member of the Michigan Angel Fund and member of the Michigan Angel Community. It Takes Money is a series of podcasts featuring angel investors and experts who offer insight on how to invest in startups. In these podcasts, we'll discuss the many aspects of angel investing and why they're choosing to invest in Michigan. Delighted to have you on this podcast joining us, and we're talking with Mike Flanagan. Mike is Vice President of Capital Programs at Ann Arbor Spark. And among other things, helps me with the Michigan Angel Fund, as well as helping a lot with the Michigan Angel Community, a non-official organization statewide where we're trying to get angels from all over the state to work a little more collaboratively, sharing information and best practices, et cetera, et cetera. You were instrumental in getting a new website up a year ago. And then, of course, what we're talking about today is the 2018 Michigan Angel activity. And as the title says, it's for calendar year 2018. The data that was gathered regarding angel investment activity in the state of Michigan in Michigan-based tech companies. Mike, give us a quick overview of what we found in 2018.
Sure. I mean, I think the big story is that we're up on virtually every metric this year, and we're yet to figure out whether that's due to our more aggressive data collection efforts or if that's an actual uptick. Again, this is kind of the second year that we've done this, and so we're still early days in terms of learning how to collect data from this pretty private market that nobody has really been able to do to date. But yeah, we saw about 52 million in angel dollars invested in 84 companies. That's versus about 42 million last year in angel dollars invested in 70 companies. So that's about a 25% increase in dollars and a 10% or a 20% increase in companies. And then total dollars invested, we saw about $230 million this year versus only I think it was $10 last year, $120 million last year. And that includes things like venture capital in addition to venture in those same rounds. So that was a huge increase. That was about a 120% increase year over year in total dollars invested in those 84 companies. And we know we'll get into maybe later some of the big deals that hit in the state this year that were record setting that angels had also invested in.
So 84 Michigan tech companies, let's qualify that. Why are we only looking and measuring investment in tech companies?
I mean, angel investing traditionally is kind of in tech companies. That's what you hear about. That's what the Angel Capital Association talks about. And we know from doing this in the state of Michigan that the tech companies have a disproportionate impact on economic growth, and we're trying to diversify the economy here and grow high-wage jobs and those sorts of things. That's part of why we're doing this, and so that's really why we focus on that. Not to say that traditional companies aren't important to the local community, but in terms of kind of a macro perspective, looking at these tech companies has a very specific and kind of impactful way of doing it. So.
Collecting this data, tough. I mean, this is individual money. Individuals aren't always all that willing to share personal information like this. By the way, no names in here. Everything's in our database, but it's not published. It's an aggregate report, aggregate number. $52 million invested by 859 individuals. That's pretty impressive and a significant bump from 2017, as you said. What do you attribute that to?
I think the culture, it's gradually getting into the culture here, and I think one of the issues that we're working on with this initiative is trying to help figure out how to get more people active and involved in this space. It is important, the future is technology to a large extent. We were the Silicon Valley 100 years ago with the auto industry, but of course, as those industries have matured, I mean, we're on to new, faster growing industries, and if we're not participating in that kind of economy, we're probably in trouble. And I think as people have seen some good things happen around the country, not only Silicon Valley, but even in Michigan now. The big companies that exited last year, for example, like Duo Security and others, that are grabbing headlines and grabbing people's attention. And I think people can see now that you can do a small portion of your total investment portfolio into something like angel investing if you're a high net worth individual. And there's a lot of benefits to doing that outside of just returns, which the returns can be way outsized to the normal markets. But it's fun, and you get to help your local community, you get to help your state, and so I think that all plays into that number growing.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
But let's put a pin in this finally, once and for all, and that is hard data to collect. Significant increase 18 over 17. How much of that do you think was we just got better at collecting the data and people got more cooperative with providing the data versus an actual increase?
Yeah, it's still early to say. I think we're getting more sophisticated in how we're able to sort of look at this mathematically and get a better understanding for that. But we're definitely still at a small sample size. We have been more aggressive year over year in how we've tactically gone after this data through surveys and things like that. And we also this year, relative to last year, used PitchBook, which is a database a lot of people know about. I'm not sure how accurate all that was, but I think we definitely
used that primarily as kind of a double check to make sure we'd caught
more of a double
all
check.
the companies.
Yeah, exactly. But
Great.
it's hard to say. It's the short answer at this point.
But it's still, nonetheless, it is good, solid data.
Right.
And it's something we can benchmark for going forward.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing it in future years. So that's all good. And 859 qualified investors in, investing in Michigan companies. That's, I don't know, should we be pleased with that?
I think we're making progress. I think there was some research that was done out of the west side of the state. I think Kevin McCurran was involved in that, a pretty prolific angel on the west side of the state, who had a number that there's 90,000 potential angel investors in Michigan just based on sort of the net worth requirements. And so when you look at it from that perspective, we're very very small amount. But again, I mean, it's not something that most people know about, and so I think the more we educate people, the more of that number we can start to bring into the.
And maybe the more you're aware that, hey, maybe my friend's doing this or my neighbor's doing this, and maybe I ought to take a look at this asset class.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, good. So 84 companies, Michigan companies. Diversity is a big deal. It's a lot of big topic of conversation the past couple of years. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, so of the 84 companies, we're still, not probably where we need to be, where we should be, but we had 15 women-owned companies this year of that 84, which is great. That's definitely an uptick from last year of, I think, 10 or 11. And then 13 minority-owned, which is an uptick as
That's
well.
a big...
We were under 10 last year, minority-owned. So
that was encouraging.
Noticed a difference, I know, just in our other jobs. And so hopefully that trend continues. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And geographically, we're a big state.
Yep.
Geographically, distribution seemed to be all across the state. There were companies in the UP all through Michigan that got investment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we had about 11 deals in Greater Michigan, 14 in West Michigan, 34 in Ann Arbor. I'm looking at the report here, and 25 in the Detroit area. So, some of it gets concentrated, obviously, in the metropolitan areas, which you would expect.
Right.
But it's great to see, like up in Traverse City, there's been a pocket of activity that's really grown in the last couple of years. And same thing, like you said, in the UP, especially by Michigan Tech, we're seeing quite a bit of activity. And so that's great. It seems to be catching on everywhere.
Yeah. What's the big takeaway here?
I think the big takeaway is just that we're making progress, and this is, I think this is a really important area. I don't think people really necessarily know until you sit in one of these meetings and get an understanding for the impact that this has. I mean, I know you've shown the statistic in a lot of your presentations that all the net new jobs that are created annually come from startup companies that are less than 5 years old, and the majority, the vast majority, again, just the multiplier effect of tech companies is very high, and so we think the majority of those net new jobs are coming out of the tech sector, early stage tech sector. So by becoming an angel investor and sort of getting into this space, you're really helping the local economy. And so, as we're seeing progress, I think we're happy about that and hope to see that continue.
Right.
And I think this benchmarking in this report is an important piece of that, because it lets us know where we're at now and helps us to make progress going forward. And then it also serves as kind of a communication piece to get people kind of on the same page.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
So we have a handful of printed hard copies, but you can get a PDF version of the report on several websites, but one being the community website, which is www.michiganangels.org.
Yep.
All right,
That's right.
got that? And this was also made possible in large part thanks to the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation, which is all about growing the middle class, diversifying our economy, growing the economy to everyone's benefit in the state of Michigan. So we appreciate that as well. Mike, thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking time to listen to It Takes Money. For more of our podcasts, visit AnnArborUSA.org/podcasts or MichiganAngels.org. Thanks to the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation for making these podcasts possible. And let me leave you with this from John D. Rockefeller. It is a mistake to assume that the possession of money in great abundance brings happiness. Pleasure comes not from the possession of money, but from the ability to do things for others, which brings satisfaction.